This is the Lakin Chronicles Road to Recovery podcast with addiction recovery specialist Dr. Greg Lakin. Real people, real stories, real addiction, and real recovery journeys. The road to recovery starts now.
Wonderful. Hey, Lakin Chronicles back. I have a special guest here. Actually, two guests, Austin and ASHLEE, both here to tell their story. One thing we've found out, and I'm very thankful you guys have come and tell us your story about what you've been through with addiction and what it's like to be married to somebody that has actually had to deal with addiction. And so I appreciate that as well. But yeah, people that are out there, they say we touch maybe 20% of the people that really need help, or 20% of people that really need to get in some type of program. And so it's way more powerful to hear a good success story than it is to hear some doctor drone on about, the neurobiology of addiction. But yeah, thank you both so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. And then, so Austin, really start with your story about when the addiction first started and how it progressed.
Well, I started using opiates whenever I was about probably 16, and it was first Loratabs, doctor prescribed for a shoulder injury, and started taking them then, and then, I found out they did something else. So we started partying with them, and then it just got snowballed and started using more, and then it, the more Loratabs it was, you had to step it up and use higher doses of everything, and then from there it just got worse and worse and worse for probably about 15 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how quick it gets away from you? It started off, with an injury, and then I guess you liked the effect and went more recreational.
Yeah.
But built a tolerance up fast and just needed more and more. Yeah. And so then what happened?
Well, I was to the point where I was spending, $300 to $500 a day. I'm a barber, so I cut hair. Mm-hmm. So pretty much everything I was making for that day, I would spend on pills just so I could work the next day, know. And, we finally ended up getting tired of that, and my wife ended up getting tired of that. So we decided to go on methadone. And with the methadone, it was really good at first, but I found myself just being addicted to that, and it was still to the point where I could use more of it also, mm-hmm. and still get the effects that I was getting with the pills. Well, then
effects being kind of euphoric, kind
mm-hmm.
of,
yeah. Yeah. So, but with the methadone, it kind of introduced me to Suboxone whenever I was ready. I didn't want the high effect anymore, but I didn't want to go through the withdrawals. I tried that myself, quitting on my own, and that didn't work.
It didn't work because it was brutal.
Yeah.
Everybody says it's absolutely brutal.
It is. So. It is. And I don't know if it's the pain more or the anxiety and the stress of it. Kind of just messes with your head, and you have that urge of wanting it and needing it. It's more of you feel like you need it,
Right.
So, but the Suboxone, it takes that away, and then, you get to a point to where you can taper off of it whenever you're ready.
Yeah. And did you notice how your brain changes? I mean, when you're just doing pills, Loratab, Percocet, OxyContin, whatever it was, and I don't know, when you were at your worst, you said $300 or $400 worth, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's your entire day spent just feeding a habit, but then also on the hunt.
Yep.
I assume, because there's a huge amount of anxiety. You start getting fight or flight. Your brain's doing this, and you get in, if everything's a crisis, everything's urgent, everything feels like it's going to be life-threatening, or it feels like it's life-threatening, even though logically, it's not. The part of your brain that's running the show thinks it is.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, ASHLEE, tell me your story.
Well, I met Austin when we were in high school, and I guess he used then, and then we started having kids, and we moved here, and like you said, it was a little out of control. So he started using methadone, like he said, and that was okay for a while, but he would it would make him tired, and so he didn't want to work, really. Right. He would just be like, like falling asleep all the time, and he would just want to come home and sleep. He didn't want to work or do anything like that. And we have 4 kids, so that doesn't work. And so then he started coming here, and it's been a lot better.
Good deal.
On the Suboxone.
Yeah. Well, and your kids are how old?
11, 9, 6, and 4.
God bless you both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, did you notice, for example, so, I mean, the benefit of both methadone and Suboxone are the real long half-life. So it kind of helps stabilize your mood from doing this all day. You probably noticed all kinds of mood changes, and the anxiety is amped up when you're on doing the roller coaster ride of especially short-acting opioids. You feel good, you feel bad, your mood's up, your mood's down, and then being on the hunt all the time, the fear of running out, but the methadone stabilized your mood, at least some, and then, like you said, you maybe went up too high, so
Yeah.
although that's calming, it can be sedating when you go up too high too, and then we titrated you down, or you obviously titrated down, and then we switched over to Suboxone or buprenorphine.
Yeah.
Which is good for mild to moderate tolerances, not real high tolerances. So you probably were smart to start on methadone because it will control higher tolerances, titrate down, switch over to buprenorphine. And then did you notice that the long half-life, your brain starts to shift back? Did you notice the anxiety goes down?
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed a lot of difference with whenever I switched over to the methadone and the Suboxone. With methadone, I could take some and not feel bad for 3 days, 2-3 days, and then with the Suboxone, I haven't had to go that long without it, but I want to say the longest I went was 2 days, and I was fine.
Well, and they actually show, they have SPECT scans and stuff like that, where they actually show that the primitive limbic fight or flight portion of your brain is way overactivated when we're doing the chase, and you don't feel like you're in control. Your whole day is spent worrying about where you're going to get money, where you're going to get the drug, what happens if you run out, and then once you come here, dose once a day at first, and then you have take-homes, the frontologic portion of your brain starts to kick back in, and you start to feel like you're back in control, and you start to make good conscious decisions again. Instead of being one voice against 100, it starts to switch the other way around. So you probably noticed changes when he became stable on buprenorphine, or even methadone before that, but noticed the anxiety wasn't there, the crisis mode wasn't always there. Did you notice that?
Yeah, probably. I think more on the Suboxone. I think the methadone was a little bit of a roller coaster ride too, but
Right.
I think the Suboxone's been a lot better.
Well, I was using it like a drug, because I wanted to get high still,
Right.
and I think that was my issue with methadone was, I kept going up as high as I could, and taking as many as I could just so I could get that effect, and
Right. Yeah, but that's not unusual for addictive behavior people they want that effect, and also, I mean, if there is an underlying anxiety component, then oftentimes it's used to calm them down. So they want to get more to actually calm their nerves down. It's not just about stopping cravings and withdrawals, but do it calming. So then we actually started you on SSRI as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that may be actually. I often say that the addiction may be the headline, but the real story may be an underlying anxiety component, or underlying depression, or underlying bipolar, whatever it is. But if we don't get control over that as well, then the chance of relapse is always high. So just generic SSRI, it took a while to kick in. Yeah. But what is that like? Have you noticed a difference on that?
Yeah. So the first day I took the whole pill, and I took it in the morning, and it kind of made me a little tired, but I could tell the effect of it, So I went down to a quarter, and I started taking it at night, and it's been doing great. It takes the edge off of everything, and
You can definitely tell he has bad anxiety. He just worries about everything all day. I mean, from the morning when he gets up, it's just all this stuff, and I'm just like, calm down. Like,
Right.
Why are you even worrying about this? And he hasn't been as bad like that lately, so.
And we see a whole lot of type A's in here, and if their energy is channeled correctly, they are rocking and rolling. They'll do the work of 2 or 3 people, but they can also spin off the tracks easier. And sometimes, you know, like you said, if you have an anxiety component and you don't have a lot of life experience, you'll just notice that, hey, pills make me feel more normal. Or, you know, for a moment in time. And then, of course, you have rebound anxiety or whatever. So we see a lot of people get addicted to opioids or benzodiazepines or alcohol. It calms them down, makes them feel more socially able to integrate, makes them feel more talkative. Does all these things, but then when it wears off, it's just rebound. It's even worse than it was before. And so that, again, starts that roller coaster ride. So... but your energy, I mean, you do 150% of whatever you do, good or bad. I mean, is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and to your credit, I mean, you, tell me, was there a sentinel event or something where you just said, hey, I'm gonna get off pills. I'm gonna get off. I mean, was there something that, when did you make up your mind it was time for treatment?
Well, I went to jail a couple times.
We lost everything.
Lost everything. Yep. And we lost everything, and then I went to jail.
Yeah.
And
just because of spending all kinds of money.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you were doing stuff you normally wouldn't do, but for the addiction.
Yep.
Like the type of behaviors are like what? Why'd you go to jail?
I went to jail because I was buying pills and selling them, you know, to be able to support my habit, and I ended up getting pulled over and
No license.
with no license. And, you know, whenever you're out there on the chase and doing all that, you're not worried about paying a seatbelt ticket. And that's what it started from, was a seatbelt ticket I didn't pay.
Yeah.
Suspended my license, got pulled over. You know, the first time they gave me a ticket for suspended license. And then after that, you know, it was just a snowball effect of that. And the next time I got pulled over with morphine 60s. And I had quite a few of them. Went to jail for a little bit, went to rehab.
No, you went to jail and got out.
Went to jail and got,
Went back and ended up in rehab, and then ended up leaving that rehab. And
He was an inpatient rehab.
And ended up in one in Newton.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
McPherson, was it?
Newton.
Oh, was it Newton?
Yeah.
Oh, Prairie View.
What was it called?
It wasn't Prairie View, no. It was just for men, right?
No, they had men and women.
I don't know.
Mirrors.
Mirrors.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Mirrors.
Yeah.
And they were really awesome. He did really good. I mean, it changed his life.
At inpatient,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he did his full, what'd you do? 30 days? Maybe more than 30 days. He came home right before Thanksgiving. I was pregnant with our 4th child, and it was due in December, and he came home like a day before Thanksgiving. And got his job back, and we moved in with my dad, and he got his job back, and
This was
started working.
6 years ago?
No, this was 4 years ago when I was pregnant.
Yeah, 4 years ago. And then, after that, you know, I knew that I still had the addiction one there, you know.
Right, yeah.
So that's whenever I came and got on the Suboxone and stuff. And then, you know, that's been...
Oh, you've been clean for a while. Yeah,
Yeah.
You've been clean for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, worked my way up, back up as a barber, and been doing really good. My wife, she does real estate. We do bail bonds. You know, just in the last 4 years, we went from nothing to, you know, twice as good as we had it before.
We bought our own house. We
You know,
brand new cars.
and I couldn't have done that without being on Suboxone, because, you know, even she asked me sometimes, you know, when are you gonna get off, you know, and I don't want to, because I still have that. I'm afraid, you know. I titrate, you know, from 3 to 2, you know, and I'm staying on that 2 because I can take 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, and it keeps me calm and not needed. You know, I don't need.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm afraid that if I get off of it, I won't. You know, if one day if I have a bad day or something, you know, I can take some lower tabs and it'll be fine. I don't want to do that.
No, I mean, and that's part of the deal is when Suboxone first came out, they thought, oh, it's non-addictive at all. But you know, they've since found out it is harder to get off as well. But by the same token, it's got that long half-life, and so they say, and they show with these brain scan images that sometimes it takes 3 to 5 years for your brain actually to turn completely back to normal, where that crazy limbic fight or flight portion completely calms down and you've re-engaged higher level thinking, frontal logic. So, you know, I mean, when we talk about that, people literally, I mean, maybe you're not as aware of it, but, you know, feeling back in control again, higher level thinking, like thinking about the future, thinking about going back to school, learning to have good relationships again, all that stuff takes a little while to re-engage, but it does. So I don't know that they've figured out when is the right time to come off or go down, but it's your journey, and so you have to be patient and be cautious with it, just so, especially if you've relapsed before. Just I understand your anxiety with coming off too fast, but by the same token, the fact that we've treated an anxiety component with a controller medicine like an SSRI that stops you from getting anxious in the first place, that's huge too. That's probably the most important part of the whole thing, because I know that people that try to get off too fast, if we don't get control of the anxiety or any other underlying mood disorder, their chance of relapse is high. Next time they go into a stress state, bam, they, you know. And the deal with addiction is it's linked to the hypothalamus, so it's linked to strong emotion, you know. So when they say the strong emotional part of your brain, the hypothalamus never forgets. So you'll notice that triggers are still there. Yeah, now you're back. Well, ASHLEE, awesome. So you stuck with him through this whole thing. No, and amazing. I'm sure he pushed the limits a few times, but it was worth it in the end. Yeah. And you got 4 awesome kids. You're doing great at your job. You guys are doing well with managing money. Yeah. You're gonna have your own shop here. Yeah. Very good. And any other tricks of the trade that you both noticed that will help people with treatment or engaging and being successful?
Patience is a lot of it, you know.
Which is hard in the beginning, isn't it?
It is.
You expect that pill, whether it's for treatment or whatever, you want it to work right away. Yeah. Yeah, patience is hard.
Patience is hard, yeah. And just, you know, getting on something to kind of stabilize.
And patience for you as well.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's worth it in the end, because a lot of relationships don't survive.
Oh, yeah.
And you had lots of motivation with the kids and everything.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. I appreciate you guys. I know that it's scary just coming on, telling your story, but by the same token, I mean, our hope is that you will help somebody else, and I have no doubt that you will. Both of your stories are not unique, but it's worth it in the end. And I appreciate your honesty about the patients, because quick fixes usually never work.
They don't.
They don't. And so thank you both for coming on. Thank you both.
No problem.
Austin, ASHLEE.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Dr. Lakin is a board-certified family medicine doctor with an emphasis in addiction medicine and over 25 years of experience. For addiction recovery services in the Wichita area, please visit www.centerforchangeks.com or visit samhsa.gov for a national directory of resources and recovery centers in your area. You can also find these links in the podcast description. Thank you for listening to the Lakin Chronicles Road to Recovery podcast. And remember, you've got this.